I, growing up as a child, I was a very sensitive little girl. And
Mhm.
there were some really beautiful moments of my childhood. I grew up in the high mountains, the Rocky Mountains of Colorado.
Mm.
And we were always bordered by national forest land. And so I spent a good deal of time playing outside, catching bugs in the pond or hiking in nature or building forts outside. We were always like bordered by national forest. And so I had these beautiful experiences just connecting with nature. My family was building a house. So we had the property where we lived at,
Mhm.
and then we had a house that we were building. And so it was a long process through most of my childhood where we were building this house because we did a lot of it by ourselves. So we were
Mm.
camping up
Mhm.
at that property on weekends and during the summers, just doing as much work as we could as a family and having a lot of fun at the same time. And most of those
Mm.
adventures were outside. We had a sledding
Mm.
hill and we went snowmobiling, and I
Mm.
spent a lot of time just playing outside. And I think that was a pivotal part of my journey because I
Mm.
developed this beautiful connection with nature, but I was also developing like the energetic skills to be able to connect in with nature. I was connecting in with spirits.
Mm.
I had some pretty profound and sometimes scary experiences working with power animals in real life.
Oh.
There were
Mhm.
bears, there were moose, there were other big animals that I had this exposure to early on. And some of it maybe was because I was sensitive. Some of it is just the nature of the area that I lived in. But that's kind of my background growing up. Those were the beautiful memories that I had. I was a sensitive little girl, and so I loved being able to go frolic outside and play with the flowers and
Mhm.
the bees and the rocks. Um, but the sensitive side made it difficult for me when I was in school. I loved
Mhm.
school in the way that I love to learn. I was always the
Mhm.
teacher's pet, and I wanted to know the answer, and my hand
Mhm.
shot up almost every time, and I was hard on
Mhm.
myself when I didn't have the right answer. But sometimes that made it difficult to be able to interact with peers who were my own age, since I spent a lot
Mhm.
of time, playing outside in nature where it was just different. So I perceived that I got picked on in school. There was some difficult interactions with children. And I know that that
Mhm.
happens a lot in school. I think it's one of the reasons why I did go back later to become a teacher, was to be able to help heal some of this wounding that I had as a child
Mhm.
in my perceptions about school and interacting with the other kids there. Um, so that's a little bit about my nature.
Was
And
anybody coming along your journey as a kid who would help you to guide you on that spiritual path? Like, or did you feel like you're all alone seeing those things that you're seeing and feeling? Were you able to talk about it with somebody? Like,
there was there was
Mhm.
some level of it. My mom always had an interest in mediumship.
Mm.
And so she had books in the house by Sylvia Brown, and we would sometimes watch the John Edwards show.
Mhm.
And this was something that we could kind of agree on the same level. This was where the energy work was allowed to kind of come into my house, was through
Mhm.
talking about loved ones who had crossed over.
Mm.
And sometimes we would have energetic experiences where the loved ones would come in and they would crank up the stereo. And that was something that was acceptable, that was talked about in my family, and my dad could get on board with that. Some of the other more woo-woo or esoterical parts of
Mhm.
healing, my dad wasn't on board with as much. Like
Mhm.
tarot cards, he was a little bit like, no, I don't think so. They're all just meant to say the same thing. And then I
Mhm.
pulled a card, which was all about anger right in that moment. He was like, see, they're all meant to say the same thing. And I'm like, see, this card is exactly the situation that's going on right now. um,
That's
so
hilarious.
there was some level of openness, and
Mhm.
my mom helped me develop some of those skills. Like we could talk about spirits in the house, and we
Mhm.
all had this deep connection to the land. Like my dad had that as well. But some of the more out there woo woo sides perhaps were not quite as open in the household. Um, yeah, that was my upbringing.
And when did you start coming more into in contact with those aspects of yourself that are spiritual, that are healing? When did you feel like, okay, I'm different, I'm gonna embrace it, I'm gonna do something about it? Was it some moment that kind of changed your trajectory from being a school teacher to a shaman?
Well, I think I always wanted to be a shaman, if
Hmm.
I'm being honest, right? Before I went to school as an elementary school teacher, I actually was in massage school. I went to school for massage therapy, and was integrating Chinese medicine work in the body. As a result, I have scoliosis in my spine, and so that was some of the healing work that I received when I was younger to be able to help me work with my own back issues.
Hmm.
And so that led me onto that path. Um, but I felt like at that time I had to be more socially acceptable, right?
Hmm.
So even though I had this desire to do the energy work and the energy healing, I felt like I was going through more of the socially acceptable routes of a massage therapist. I'm going to be a massage
Mhm.
therapist. And that training really helped me in my background, but it didn't end up being my full-on career. I realized pretty early on after doing massage for one winter full time that this wasn't
Mhm.
going to be able to work for me long term. My wrists weren't going to hold out
Mhm.
for a lifetime. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll go back to the drawing board,
Uh-huh.
and teaching kind of came up.
Interesting.
And so
Mhm.
I used my massage license and my massage degree to help get through school. But at the same time, when
Mhm.
I was going to elementary school, I felt that call to come back to the energy work. So I met a shaman, and he's like, you should go to this training. And so
Yeah.
I was going to
Mhm.
school for teaching and also shamanism at the same time.
Wow.
Um, so while it never truly left me, I think there were moments where I kind of suppressed it. And I think this happens a
Mhm.
lot with empaths and sensitives, right?
Yeah.
They're happy to go play in nature and frolic with the fairies and whatnot until it comes to a place where we understand, oh, we're not actually supposed
Mhm.
to do that. And I could get made fun of for this. And oh,
Yeah.
there's this witch wound that comes up, right?
Mhm.
This fear of being stoned to death. And a lot of
Yeah.
times there's past life trauma that comes up for
Yeah.
people around this fear of actually being able to be seen in a position,
Absolutely.
in a role like
Mhm.
that.
That's real, you know?
So that was part of my journey,
Mhm.
is having to overcome this fear
Yeah.
of being seen as
Mhm.
a healer and
Mhm.
embracing it, and making that my full-time career.
Yeah.
I'm not full-time. I'm with my daughter most of the time, but being able to just step out of the shaman closet, as we call it.
Yeah. That a big step, and it's requires a lot of bravery. I can sort of relate to it. It's scary
Yeah.
to come out in the world. Mhm.
And so while I was
Mhm.
doing that teaching and also
Mhm.
shaman school, right? My
Yeah.
guides told me there was a specific journey that we went on where it talked about what we're here for, what our life purpose is.
Yeah.
And my guides told me in that journey, you're here to be a medicine woman. They
Mm.
told me, don't even
Mhm.
bother finishing college. Like, you're not going to teach. Don't even bother. But
Mhm.
at that point, I was still scared, right? There was still fear.
Yes.
And I was like, well, I'm too young to be a shaman. Nobody's going to
Mhm.
listen to me. Like, fine, I'll be a shaman. Fine, fine. But let me teach for like
Yeah.
20 years. And then when I have gray hair and I look old and wise, then perhaps I'll be a
Uh-huh.
shaman. Okay. Okay.
Like I want to share. So, on the first time I had a session with Amanda, so I was referred to her as a shaman. And when I saw her on camera, I was kind of shocked because she looked like a college student. You know, my idea working with the shaman, I thought it's going to be dark room, so there's smoke coming up, lots of feathers, you know, and some shriveled woman, like just being all out there. And as opposed to that, I'm seeing Amanda, with her blonde hair, with her glasses, looking totally normal, But it was not until we actually dived into things that I realized, her power is not coming through on the outside, but it's inside. And my next question to you, what is your biggest challenge right now at the moment? So I know you're a young mom. You have a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old child, and you're a shaman and a wife, and you live in a rural community. And so what is it like for you? What is your biggest struggle right now at the moment?
I think you nailed that's my biggest struggle right now, is that I love being a mom and I love my
Mhm.
daughter so much. And there is a level of it can become very consuming. She's very much a mommy's
Mhm.
girl, and she's been in a
Mhm.
mommy phase ever since she was born. And so we have this beautiful bond and
Mhm.
beautiful connection. But also I wear a lot of hats, right? I also love being able to work in my business and to support
Yeah.
people in the shaman world, where I work with clients and continue to do trainings in that way. And I have a large garden, and there's
Mhm.
just the demands of cooking dinner and cleaning the house and working with my partner. And so I
Mhm.
think that's my biggest challenge right now, is feeling like it's difficult to balance all of those things,
Mhm.
and to do each of those well,
Yes.
right? My garden would tell you right now that that's my biggest challenge because it's feeling a little bit neglected.
It's
But there's
almost
this.
like you need multiple people to fill all those roles, no?
Yes.
Mhm.
And so me, the perfectionist, kind of is like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I'm sorry, garden. Yeah, I needed to weed you ages ago. And it's a good thing
Mhm.
that it rained today because you need some water. And so those are some of
Did
my
you ever
biggest.
feel like living in a community with like-minded people where perhaps the task could be shared? Somebody's gardening and somebody's cooking while you're just doing your medicine and the kids playing. Like, would it make sense to blend in with some group?
And
Mhm.
I've considered that, and we had talked about it. Right now we have created some level of community here just where we
Mhm.
live.
Yeah.
Our neighbor has a fancy big mower, which is great because it can cut our lawn in like a third of the time, and there is no going back now. So he
Yeah.
parks it in our shed and we get to use it.
That's fantastic. The practicalities of life, just
Yeah,
having a
so
good
there's some
mower.
level
Yeah.
of that exchange that's coming in that way. It hasn't manifested like an intentional community or that kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
yet. But it's like you find pockets of being able to get what you
Mm-hmm.
need, right? When
Yeah.
I'm desiring that connection, I have a mom's group that I go to, and
Mm-hmm.
Ella gets to go play on the playground with all these other kids, and I get to
Yeah.
connect with some of the other moms. So yes, I think ideally I had originally planned that I would do this whole homesteading thing, and we would have the
Yeah.
homestead and we'd get the chickens and the garden, and
Uh-huh.
there's been some resources that come in to support it. And also
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just know where you're at and what you can handle. And you
Absolutely.
put your energy where you can and call in the rest. I feel like I'm supported in the ways that I need to, but there are days where I don't remember that.
Of course. And now, on those days, what do you come back to? So, in this busy life right now, what brings you the most joy? What feeds your soul? When you're given on so many roles, so many places, where is it that you recharge?
I'm finding there's a lot of in our world we have the flip side, right? So
Hmm.
even though some of my biggest challenges are wearing all of these hats, they are also some of my greatest joys right now. I love
Yeah.
being able to be home with my daughter, and I love being able to see her grow on a daily basis and she's saying new words every day, and it's amazing. I'm like, I love being able to hear her say new
Yeah.
words. And so I love being able to be in that role. And then here
Hmm.
I am in my evening time being able to jump on a podcast and do some healing
Yeah.
work with you. And that brings me so much joy as well. And when I get out to my neglected garden,
Uh-huh.
I feel so much joy there too. And so it's interesting, like these moments of challenge are also some
Yeah.
of the greatest joys that come in because
Interesting.
I'm able to be present in those
Hmm.
moments. And so I think that life brings us these lessons where sometimes our biggest struggles and frustrations can also be our biggest joys.
That's a beautiful metaphor to look at things. The same thing can be a challenge and a joy, right? It's
Yeah,
not like one or the other.
right.
So there's one thing you can tell the people that are listening to the podcast, there's one thing they can do to improve their life here and now. A lot of people are struggling with multiple tasks, and a lot of them probably still looking for their past. We all are, for a spiritual meaning to their life. There's one thing you can recommend them to do, or a ritual to do, or a resource to tap into to kind of see the bigger picture, to get
Mm.
through the challenges a little easier.
I think I talk a lot with clients and friends about
Mhm.
energetic boundaries, right? And so
Mhm.
a lot of times
Mhm.
we're going through the day leaving our energy in places that we don't even realize,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes when I'm doing the dishes, but I'm focused on business, or I'm in the garden focused on something else, right? Our energies are scattered.
Mhm.
And sometimes we even like will leave some of our energy with other people. Like the term energy vampire goes around a
Yeah.
lot where people will suck our energy. And I don't want to create fear around
Mhm.
that. But what I'm seeking to do is create, I do a ritual at the end of every night to be able to call my energy back to me. And so that's one of the tips that I would like to offer.
Yes.
Is it's just this quick, simple, it doesn't take a lot of time at all. You
Mhm.
just center yourself if possible, and then you just ask, Spirit, I call all of my energy back to me for 100% God's perfection. And you can change the wording a little bit to make it feel like it aligns with you.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I call back my energy. I call back 100% of my energy right now.
Wow. Mhm.
And so calling your energy back from all of the places that you've
Yeah.
left it throughout the day just allows me to feel more centered, right? I'm always multitasking and thinking about
Mhm.
all of the other things. And I know in this busy world, we get kind of sucked into all of these different
Yeah.
energies. Um, that's my tip, is to call back your energy. And I make it a
Did you
routine to do
say,
it.
sorry, did you say to the God's perfection?
Yep, I call back my
Uh-huh.
energy to 100% God's perfection is the
Perfection.
languaging that I was taught.
Yeah.
If you prefer to think about the universe, you can do that
Mhm.
too, or you can just leave it out and say, I call back
Yeah.
100% of my energy. Um, and you come back from a commanding place. Sometimes with these things, I feel it helpful to be playful, because when we
Mhm.
add in that element of play, it makes it easier. So the way that I think about it is when I'm calling back my energy, I feel like I'm calling the cows home, right? So sometimes I'll
Mhm.
like think about that and get that playful energy in my head. Come on, Amanda, it's time for dinner. Come on in, come
Wow.
on in, come on, Amanda, you got this. Come on. And so if that helps you in the way that it lightens it up enough to be able to call your energy back,
Yeah,
that's another tip to be able to do that as well, is when we add that level of lightness and playfulness, it oftentimes is more effective. So Amanda, I
that's
call back
beautiful.
all of my energy from all of the places that I left it. Where are you hiding today?
I'm gonna practice that because I definitely feel like I go places, and I come back drained. I
Yeah,
feel like my energy just left me and I can't always pinpoint, where it went and what happened, but just calling it back, I think would be really, I'm gonna do it several times a day. I think every time I'm in the big groups of people, I think it's really important to get all your energy back.
it's
That's a
perfect to do
great tip.
multiple times per day. But for me, the big
Right.
trigger is before bed.
Mhm.
That's when I remember, because that's when
Which one?
I do it before bed. I
Before
feel
bed.
like that's when
So,
that's the time that works most for me, when I'm
yeah.
most likely to remember it. But sometimes I'll set
Hmm.
alarms on my phone. Or if
Yeah.
I have moments where I'm just feeling frazzled, it's like, where did I leave my energy? Okay, Amanda, come on back. Let's go back to
That's
100% God's
beautiful.
perfection right now. And I'll snap,
Uh-huh.
right? The snaps you
Yeah.
may notice are
Uh-huh.
it's like a way to call in the energy.
Huh. The snap your fingers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do that a lot when I'm clearing. And it's not that
Beautiful.
you have to follow an exact routine.
Hmm.
My point here is that you just find a way that works for you,
Yeah.
and that feels good.
I love it. So now we're gonna wrap it up. Can you please just tell us more about the work you do and how people can contact you in your own words? Okay, so what is it you offer? How people can find you? What are your, the biggest passion at the moment? Which people you think you can help the most? I know I've sent multiple friends to Amanda with, and all of them had a wonderful result. So I would like more and more people to know about this, the kind of skill that you have and what kind of challenges you can help people with.
Beautiful, thank you. My website is featherlighthealing.com. That's my business name, Featherlight Healing. And my name is Amanda Campbell. I am also kind of on Facebook and Instagram. I have an account, but I have not posted in a very long time.
Mhm.
But I would respond to messages that way, or you can go to my website. There's an option to be able to book a complimentary call to just dive in to see if it feels like it's a good fit. And I can answer any questions, and we can just kind of dig into what's going on in your life to see if the work that I do might match. Some of the things that I'm offering are Reiki classes. Reiki is a beautiful, I lovingly and jokingly call it the gateway drug to energy work, because it's
Mhm.
simple and it's easy and it's effective to be able to get people started right away when they're working with their intuition.
Mhm.
Um, I love working with people in a mentorship program where I'm helping them to develop their intuitive skills and their own healing abilities. So sometimes that's through like a 3-month container. And through that course, not only am I helping them develop their own skills and putting them in contact with their guides through shamanic journeying and other intuition developing tips, but we're also going through and holding space and releasing what needs to be released in a skilled way, where you have the help of a shaman who can come through and help you work through that childhood trauma, where we can release any energetic attachments in your field, where we can make sure that your house is clear. So those are some of the individual services that I offer. And I do love to package those into programs where I'm able to really support people who are ready to grow. I work mostly with women, but it's not necessary that it's just women, but I do tend to work a lot with women, especially mothers at this point in my business. And I also teach shamanism. So for those who are desiring to be able to do advanced level clearing work in a way that I do too, I have started offering the full course to be able to go through shaman training.
Beautiful. And there's a name in the shaman skills group that you belong to. Like, can you tell us the name?
My IU, which is
Uh-huh.
what is community in the Peruvian language, is
Okay.
in Colorado. So she was in Salida. Her name is Ginger, and her husband Dale Lee, they're who taught me. So
Beautiful.
they're based in Salida. Yeah.
All
Is
right.
that
So
what you were asking?
yes, yeah. There's a name you gave me for that the shamanic style.
Oh,
You're
Kurakakuliak.
yes.
So I'm a Kuliak, which means fourth level wisdom keeper in the shamanic
Hmm.
traditions. So right now that's the current highest level, unless there have been new levels that have been developed that I'm not aware of. So that's my title, as you would call it, in Peruvian shamanism. I've gone through the Munai Ki, which is a beautiful series of attunements where we develop your energy body to be able to help connect in with the stars, with your guides, just to make it stronger and to allow you to call in more power, right? You can come in with this
Beautiful.
powerful presence and you build a medicine bundle, which is a mesa, to be able to help you with your
Hmm.
healing work. It's a profound personal journey where you're really working through the areas of your life that are ready to let go and to step into that next level. And then the advanced levels is more of like the how to do clearing work and how to do illumination and soul retrieval and um, hold space in the way that I have been.
Yeah. And I want to add that Amanda also works with children, because I know it from the experience that she can work, with a parent and a child together, and with the animals too. So pretty much, and the clearing of the house I've done with all 3 houses that I lived in the last 5 years. I've done clearing with Amanda, and it makes a huge difference in the energy of the house. If you're moving into a new place, or if you've been living in a place and you feel like it's not feeling right, there's probably something isn't right in there. So it's really good to clear any space you live in, or workplace, or your garden space, because there's energy, there's this stuff might have been happening there 100 years ago that we don't know about, or maybe 1,000 years ago, there's energy from previous owners. So that clearing work actually has been really important. If you have a good space where you live, you can actually do a lot more, versus if you're constantly being tortured in your own home environment. So thank you, Amanda, for your time. It's been a pleasure connecting with you. And it's Amanda Campbell, Featherlight Healing, and you can connect with her through the website, Facebook, or Instagram. And I can't wait to hear more from Amanda. All right, thank you, Amanda. We'll talk to you soon again.
Thank you, Anya.
Thank you for coming for the podcast.
It was a
Aho.
pleasure to be invited. Thank you.